Hello everyone and welcome to Old World. Scientific here, and we are back. Turn 42. Part 2, Lich versus PS. Two substitutes coming in on round 2 here. And, yeah, it has been an interesting 42 turns for these players so far. Let's get our friends on Discord knowing that we are live. Oh, and reduce the echo of myself in the background. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, forgive me. Yeah, interesting position here. Not looking so great for Babylon. As I understand it, Babylon kind of raced to the center here to try and settle Kisara. And succeeded, but got in some political troubles. A handful of rebels alongside some raiders, alongside some Axumites pressuring the center, and pretty much forced the Babylonians to kind of tuck tail and head back home. Real dicey situation for the Babylonians. We had it started traders, which is pretty strong, delayed sages for quite a while here, and in fact, let me make sure that I understand this correctly. Yeah, let me take a peek here. Yeah, so this I think is going to be the problem that we're going to run into here. So one of the issues you can run into with these multiple settles is you'll see that we started traders, we did 3 hunters, right? And then sages. And that can, sometimes work out to give you something like, a sage slingshot, as I like to call it. Maybe you're trying to do a deep dive on a tech. But one of the issues that you can run into is, as we'll see here, discontent level increase rapidly if you multi-settle families. There's nothing necessarily wrong with doing it. I will open with multiple families, multiple instances of the same family, rather. Pretty often, like a couple landowners or a couple sages is our common opener. A couple artisans, things like that. There are different families that can synergize well if you kind of go, capital and second city, same city, or maybe capital's one family and then 2 of a different family. But what you run into, the issue you run into if you delay that longer and longer and longer is that the discontent level rises. The issue is twofold. Firstly, you get a higher rate of discontent increase in the city the longer it takes you to settle all 3 of your families. But then the other issue with that is that if you have, if your first 3 cities are all of the same family, typically speaking, the first 3 cities are going to end up with the highest levels of discontent anyway, apart from maybe some luxury spam in the capital or something like that. But generally speaking, if you're not maintaining it, you run the risk of having your earliest settlements ending up with your highest levels of discontent, which in fairness is totally natural. Like, that's a natural occurrence. But the issue is if it's all 3 of those earliest cities or all of one family, then all of this high level of discontent, level 4 discontent, for example, is minus 80 opinion, right? So if you have 3 cities that are all level 4, that's minus 80 in each city. Now, if you spread that across 3 different families, each family is getting a hit of negative 80 opinion. So, no big deal. But if they're all one family, well, then that's one family that's getting negative 240 opinion, which is an entirely different animal. So I think, based off of the rebel situation that we're seeing in the center here and the kind of time frame that I just mapped out, where it looked like sages was not settled yet, so we did traders, hunters. It looks like that we created ourselves a little bit of a discontent crisis in Babylon, specifically targeting the hunters. And then the other issue you're going to run into, we had a couple of raiders up here. We also had some raiders down here. For the hunters in particular, if you get raiders, they further decrease your opinion. So anyway, that was, it can only turn 43, by the way. Still early days in this game, but Axum has a dominant position. They have the order lead at the moment. They have a higher science rate, but they're still neck and neck in overall science invested in the tree. Axum has a significantly higher order rate at the moment. More improvements on the map, 27 to 12. And at this stage, 6 cities to 4, but they're just capturing their 7th city now, and a very dominant position in the center of the map. Huge resource payouts in this position. Several pastures, 2 goats, cattle, 2 horses, some camp resources. Hello, everybody. Welcome to chat. Welcome to our chat, people. Zegiger, and Jason. Thanks for popping in to say hello. Yeah, and also let's look at the military score, by the way. Yeah, so very strong dominant position for Axum throughout, and the Babylonians just got hammered around turn 30. We're able to pop back up pretty quickly, but really just haven't been having a great game, unfortunately. I did not watch the first half of this game, but I did kind of skim through briefly. And Babylon left us a lot of notes that I went around and got to check out. Kind of been narrating his own game. Lots and lots of notes all around the side here. I'm not going to read them all for you. I wonder if Alcaris checked them out. I believe Alcaris hosted the first half of this. So feel free to check on the playlist and go back and relive the magic that brought us to the situation we're in now. But yeah, excuse me. Dominant position here from Axum. A couple of spears out. Both nations have tacticians on the throne, by the way. The family's brought in. This is interesting. We have a trader's capital, which makes sense. 3 fish. But then we actually have 3 patrons on the Axum side. We went traders, champions, and then 3 patrons before landing on another trader. I suspect this central location will end up going to the champion family. And this raid, which is funny, this raid is actually making its way towards Babylon. We could actually have just left it be, but it looks like we're going to take the opportunity to score some kills here. No big deal. Makes sense. Get that XP. We have the orders. Might as well spend them. Yeah, some really good patron location right here. It's 3 precious, 3 gems. These 3 gems, if we can improve all of them, will actually create the matching luxury pair to each patron city, which will be quite nice. Both for culture and for happiness. I suspect we're sending these to the capital, though, yeah. So, let's look where our Demit warriors are. Our Demits are in the discard pile. That's nice. Excuse me. The Axumite military is currently 9 units strong compared to only 3. Wow, only 3 units for Babylon. So really, What's our scouting look like in Axum? I don't see any scouts on this side of the map. Looks like we're a little blind at the moment, but man, if Lich can get a read on the situation, there really isn't much reason to not just keep advancing. I mean, if you pressure and take Nippur, that should pretty much be GG, I suspect. Because you will be entrenched enough with a force such as this. It'll be really, really difficult ask to get that city back for the Babylonians. Which then ultimately means that you basically don't have a side of the map if you're Babylon. You know, you get the two cities down here. You would be bisected. Your empire would be bisected. Durothar would be in the north. And, yeah, that would just be a tremendous amount of pressure. So, hopefully what we'll see from Lich here is just a continued advance. I would not be surprised if Lich were to decide to clear the Gaul site. That seems like more typical play that we've seen from players in this tournament, but if it were me with my orders and situation, I would just poke this guy down with a slinger and just charge headlong with this tactician. Find myself in these woods. In fact, let's take a peek at... Yeah, we can see that we have this visibility, so I would literally just poke this down, force march myself into this position, kill this guy. I'm also in the woods. I have Ranger, right? And it's a little bit blind, but I can see that my opponent is weaker. Surprising that they're only weaker, though, to be honest, considering the power level at this point. 350 to 130. Wild. Power level is so misleading. Is Babylon trying to clear? Wow, that seems like a big mistake. Looks like we got a lucky crit, though, so that's nice. We're going to take 8 damage in response, bringing us down to 7, which will mean we have to back up and heal, right? So that brings us down to essentially only 2 units in active duty. I guess we have another one another slinger coming out next turn. Yeah, not looking so hot. Land consolidation in 2 turns, though, for the Babylonians. And we do have a camel. A couple sentinel camels could be nice, but again, we have all spears, so not looking too great. But yep, we have war, and I really want to see aggression here. My fingers crossed. Also, our players had a little bit of a chat before the last session ended. I'm not going to read all of it. You can go back on the previous session and check it out. But this would give me the idea as Lich that our opponent not feeling too confident. So yeah, I'd run right up here and take this guy out. Stunlock this settler. Stunning a settler and killing a settler, it's a pretty solid grab. And I'm hoping we don't see the cautious play, which would be taking out this Gaulish camp. It does make sense. I just really don't want to see that happen. And there, yep, there we go. Come on, man. It's right here. Just stun the dude. 1 slinger, but you have Ranger in the woods. You should be aware that there was an archer. I think when we loaded this in, we saw at least the archer. And maybe I think we even saw the tactician. Come on, buddy. You can do both. You can do both. You can do both. God damn it. Are you kidding me? Man. I gotta say, there's a play style in this game that just does not jive with me. And, yeah. Well, a nice crit, though. So, fortunately, we won't linger too long here. Yeah, see, now we're posturing. But, I mean, I guess, you know, our player doesn't have perfect information, but this is enough visibility. Like I said, when we started this session, I'm pretty sure these two units were down here. We saw them run away. They were tucked behind, I don't know if Axum actually had visibility on them, to be fair, but I think we did. Because that tactician visibility is pretty decent. Yeah, right. So, yep, we have 7 health now. We have to back off. "90% of the time being conservative is a good move in Old World." Interesting. I don't know that I agree with that. This is really risky, man. If Axum spots this at all, Babylon is just gonna collapse. Well, I mean, I'm over-aggressive, so, you know, half the time I lose is because I take unnecessary risks, so it goes either way. It can go either way, I suppose. There's 3 types of players. There's conservative players, there's risky players, and then there's the people who are, like, perfectly in between and seem to never have issue with, being aggressive or you know, taking their time. And those are players. Aaron, I would put in that group. You know, he always seems to attack at the exact right time, and he never seems to get attacked, caught off guard when he is attacked. So he straddles that line quite nicely, and there are a few other players who do the same. Otherwise, you have 2 general camps. Broadly speaking, where you have aggressive type of players and conservative type of players. See here. And we check that science. Money favors Babylon a little bit, but overall, Axum actually has made more money in the game. Resource economies are all leading. Everything's leading Axum at the moment. Yeah, so going to be an uphill battle here for the Babylonians. PS strikes me as the type. I've played 1 game with PS before he came into the tournament. In fact, technically, it's ongoing. And he definitely seems like the type of player who's willing to fight to the last stand. So I suppose it will be a question of how long his morale can hold. What about SimCity players? SimCity is conservative, yeah. If you're just simming, then you're not being aggressive. One turn from citizenship for the Axumites, and that's actually going to be... Oh, they already have 4 laws. Oh, and Babylon is now much weaker, so this is another thing. It's like, your opponent's much weaker. Why are you clearing a camp, man? Your opponent is much weaker. You have 25 orders per turn. There's 3 spears, 4 spears, and 3 slingers in the region. I mean, It's pretty decisive. You have a tactician. Your opponent also has a tactician, but you have a tactician. And your Highlander and the unit you're on has a ranger. Yeah, so if you stepped into this tile right here, Sentinel Slingers or not, you'd basically be invincible on this tile. We also have Fierce. So that's plus 60 strength just from sitting on this tile with this unit. That'll be pretty wild. So I'm really shocked we didn't move in and stun that settler. It would have taken so much to be able to kill this guy. Good news is we are posturing forward, which is quite nice. I definitely think that's the correct play. This guy's close to being promoted. I think we should go ahead and either grab Besieger or grab another Ranger promotion. There's enough forests back here that Ranger will probably be worthwhile. And we're advancing with more units from the back line. We do have a settler ready to take the Gaulish site, so that's quite nice. Gambler's turn now. Nope. I don't know why I'm thinking. I just played Gambler a second ago, earlier. And were they Babylon? Who were they? No, they were Maria. Anyway, yeah, so PS. Oh, that's what it is. Problem Gambler, PS. I mixed that up in my brain. 18 of you guys in the chat. Thanks for hanging out. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope everybody has a fun weekend in store. Hopefully you'll be playing some Old World. We have quite a few games in the tournament happening this weekend. I will not be casting tomorrow, Saturday, but I will be covering some games on Sunday. Looking forward to it. This is actually only one of 2 matches that remain in the round 2 of the New World Division. I believe the other game is also in a part 2. I don't know the status of that one. I'm a little behind in watching coverage of games. I try to keep up to date on as much as I can since I cast so much, but when I was sick, I wasn't really watching a lot of footage. Nor was I casting all that much, to be honest. So yeah, I'm a little bit behind on some of the games. And but no, yeah, it's entirely possible that round 3 could begin by the end of this weekend. So going into next week, we could see our first games, our first matchups in round 3 starting for the New World Division. Old World's a little bit behind on that front, but not too far. Let's take a peek. I will take a peek real quick here while our players are sorting out their stuff. Let's see here. The New World, the Old World Division has only 2 games that have not been started that remain. Every other game is in progress. At least. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of the 16-ish. So half of the games are completed. The majority that remain are in progress, and 2 have yet to be scheduled. I'd say on average, Old World would probably, the Euro division is probably about a week or 2 behind the US one, or the Americas one. But everything's moving at a pretty good pace now, which is quite nice. I suspect come mid-August, we'll probably be completely in round 3. And then, after round 3, we'll have our first set of eliminations and our first set of qualifiers. Whoa! Quick advancement from the tactician up north. Love to see this. Moving forward with that aggression. I just find it fascinating we're contesting camps, but, I mean, I guess no big deal, I suppose. You know, if you take the camp and then you take more kills. Also, if you pressure the camp and the city at the same time, That will be interesting. I really would like to do that. I'd like to pressure both. Because even if we lose a slinger, it's not going to be end of the world. It would be a fact-finding mission, right? Come up here, poke the city, deny some rush potential, get some better vision in the region, and if a bunch of slingers pop out of the woods and or a spear and come kill your dude, well, then now you know where the Babylonian army is, and you can make a more educated decision about whether you want to take the camp or whether you would just want to all-in outside of Nippur. But again, that's just my aggression showing. I don't mind tossing a unit if it helps me find some information or make my opponent spend orders. It would take quite a few units to kill this guy, or it would require the tactician to come down here and stun him. Either way, that's a handful of orders, and shows me where the tactician is. If the tactician did come all the way down here to stun this exploring slinger that I sent towards Nippur, then I could just come up with a different slinger on the backside and one-shot this dude, because he's very, very low health. So I think Ball is in Axum's court at this point to be as aggressive as they want and to really just throw their weight around the map. Could be interesting to see what they choose to do. They're slowly creeping across the map. Really nice to see. It's always a good sign when you're able to posture as heavy as Axum is, while also, if you look at every single build queue, not a single build queue is building a military unit. We have workers, 2 workers being built, apprentice officer, 3 workers being built, apprentice officers, a miner, a fisher. So, I mean, we can. This is the thing that sucks about being in Babylon's position and basically having, you know, 1/4 the size of the military with an aggressive posture on your opponent's side, is that you're basically forced to go all in on building military units. Building a camel archer now, which is going to be quite nice on all of this arid. Meanwhile, your opponent can eco-develop if they want. Wow. Went for the spear. Interesting. Well, I think this archer is dead. Because I think we're just going to stun the archer. I think Axum will just stun the archer. Alright, healing up that tactician. I think maybe a couple more steps forward and then just charge Nippur on the turn after. Yeah, I would get all 4 of these guys. Spear here, spear here-ish. Slingers in the woods. Yeah, so put this guy in the woods with this spear a little bit further south, I guess, and put these 2 slingers in the woods, and then on the next turn we could advance towards Nippur, something like that. Meanwhile, stun this archer in place and take these other 2 guys up and start working on clearing the camp, I guess. Gotta watch out for that settler from our opponent, but I mean, even if Babylon settles the city up here, that's really not going to amount to much, I don't think. We just take the city. Wow, we're going for scholarship. Crazy. Crazy. Classic, though. It's been a while since I've seen a scholarship beeline. Wow, yeah, man, look at that. Monasticism also. This is some really good science. for Axum, I think. Let's take a peek here one more time. 23, 26. Hit the 50s in the 30s. So, that was a fun way to phrase that, I guess. But, yeah, got around 50 science inside of the turn 33, turn 34. And then, yeah, really, really doing decent on science. Alrighty, we are up and running. It is Axum's turn. Let's see what decisions they'll make. The Axumites beat Babylon to Zoroastrianism, too. That's interesting. I feel like Babylon is one of the nations that has a pretty easy time of getting to Zoroastrianism. Although I guess if we delayed sages, that would be one of the things that throw the wrench in early Zoroastrianism. And one of the reasons for that is either you can sage directly into divination. Alright, looks like we're backing off here with this Tactician General. One thing I would probably just do at this stage is just put my Tactician on somebody else. Probably this guy back here. Move him all the way up, and then put the Tactician on him. I love doing that as a way to migrate generals, and then I could just put this hero onto this guy and start healing him up outside in neutral territory. I love juggling generals around. Neat trick if you have the training for it. We have another slinger in 3 turns, another camel, and a camel, our first camel archer in 5 turns. But again, loss of spears in the region, so the camel archers will take some damage. Alcros, did you host the first part? Alright, slowly creeping across the Nuba Mountains. Alright, Alcros, if you want to hop... I don't know what you're doing or where you are, because I know you're on vacation, but if this wraps up in the next hour or so and you want to hop in and do the post-game chat, that would be ideal. Because I'm a little low energy at the moment. But no worries if you're busy or not at a computer or whatever. No big deal. EQCR is asking why Camel Archer aren't spears better in this situation. Well, it becomes a little complex. A Camel Archer is a 5 strength unit. Spear is a 5 strength unit. Camel Archer will have Sentinel and Nomad. So this is going to be 25% from Arid and Sand, in which case we have plenty. And Sentinel, of course, is 20 strength. So basically call it an extra 50%. I'm going to round up for the sake of the argument. And that actually will be valid once we take damage, since we have tough on the general anyway. So I'm rounding up to 50% for the sake of the argument. Alright, that works too. So that means that the 5 strength plus 50% is 7.5 strength. So if we pop a good general on this guy and do a little bit more rounding, that basically makes this Camel Archer an 8 strength unit. Which brings us to spears. Will spears do good damage against them? Yes, because these spears are also going to be plus 50% on their attack. But essentially, if you think about it, they're going to negate each other out, right? You have the Sentinel You have the arid tile for plus 45, and the mounted bonus on the spear is plus 50. So basically, they're going to cancel each other out. That's the first thing. And then the other thing that we want to factor in is that the camel archer being ranged is going to do full damage to the spears. So, with that in mind, a camel archer on a sentinel camel archer on favorable terrain should, in theory, do more damage to a spear than a spear will do to it. Or at the very least, it'll be about the same. But I'm pretty sure the sentinel archer does more damage. We'll find out in 4 turns, though. Certainly not something you want to spam, but they're not going to take that much damage. Not on the favorable terrain, anyway. Plop a camel right here, and that's basically going to almost entirely nullify this anti-mounted bonus. Because again, this is anti-mounted 2 is plus 50% melee combat, and Nomad plus Sentinel would be 45% combat strength. It almost negates it entirely. And so, yeah, so what I was saying also, this anti-mounted is melee combat, so it's only when the spear attacks the camel archer. When the camel archer attacks the spear, they're not going to get this 50% combat bonus. So yeah, the sentinel, a sentinel camel will actually, in fact, do more damage to a spear than a spear will do to a sentinel camel on favorable terrain. And there is a decent amount of favorable terrain in this region. Ideally, we would get our borders to pop and consume more of these tiles, because we really only have about 3 tiles we can work with that's actually in our borders to get both Sentinel and the Nomad bonus. But if we could get our camel into this position right here on this forest tile, that'd be pretty handy, because apart from the spears, the only other damage coming from Axum right now is slinger ranged damage. So these slingers would probably only do about 1 or 2 damage into that tile, and I think the spears would do 5-ish, if I were to guess. So yeah, 1 camel sitting in this location would definitely get killed. But in theory, if you were able to drum up a handful of camels as the Babylonians occupy these tiles, that could pose a little bit of an issue for Axum. Of course, the other issue that you have is that your opponent has a tactician on the throne, so they'll just stun one of the camels, which is you're going to want to swap your tactician. Oh, our tactician is severely ill, so not long for the throne. We have a zealot heir. Yes. PS is much weaker than Lich, and his opponent is competent. We are clearing a site right now. Looks like we're going to come up and settle that site as well. We finished our first grove, which is actually not too bad. Well, let's take a peek. Let's see if... yeah, both on the starting ruler. That does make sense. Oh my good lord. We brought in another Sentinel City. Well, I guess it's only 3 now. Still only 3, because this was a Sentinel, but we lost it. So, I guess it's still only 3 Sentinel Cities. Just a demonstration, because we've only had the 1 Babylonian trader city in these 50 turns. The total discontent coming from traders right now is minus 80 opinion, compared to the hunters, which is minus 200 opinion. But that goes back to what I was saying about running the risk of if you spam a family too quickly, you can, dogpile that discontent into one family. That can be a real big problem. I really don't think that Nippur is going to hold against this advance. I think it would fall. It might even... Oh! However... Oh, that's cool. Look at the flood. I love floods. They're one of my favorite calamities. A, they're gorgeous. B, they just create such weird situations. So this could have been awesome if there actually was a defensive situation for Babylon, because imagine just trapping the majority of your units, your opponent's units, in your territory for a little bit, where the tactician almost can't reach. Oh, I guess we could go around. Alright, well, that's a bummer. But if the tactician were completely blocked off, that'd be amazing. We are advancing on Nippur, though. Oh, we can't occupy this tile because of the flood. Fun. So we won't get this scrub defense. Calamities on normal. Good. As the Lord intended. I love normal calamities. I think it's a shame we play on very rare. I wouldn't mind playing on rare, but very rare feels unfortunate. I love calamities. I think they're a lot of fun. Alright, massive damage onto Nippur, though. Only 9 health left. PS does not seem to be shifting to repair, although I suppose you might as well just try and get that slinger, right? The game's... I mean, this is it. We are rushing the Camel Archer. So we'll be able to take a peek at some of that damage. Again, despite everything I just said about Camel Archers into Spears, I definitely don't think one Camel Archer is going to come in and save the day, just to be very clear. But it should give us a demonstration about our ability to do some damage. The patrons are upset in Axum, by the way. And there's no pleased or friendly families on the Axumite side. Zealot will be on the throne next turn. Ooh, we can get our militia. Or we can get a nice repair. That's fun. That's a tough call. We can get a militia, we can get orders, we can get a repair. This is probably my favorite event that fires when we're under siege. Because getting this boosted repair, or the militia, or the orders. Any one of these options, depending on what you need. Like, the militia, believe it or not, can be really good for, like, a kill secure, or zone locking an opponent, or if you are one of the Stompy Boy nations, directing a panic, or orchestrating a disarm. The orders are obviously very, very useful if you're feeling strapped for orders and trying to position units into defense. And then, of course, the free repair on top of already repairing your city, which you likely will be, is really, really great. So this is probably one of the better events that can trigger when one of your cities is under attack. His camel can't even reach Nippur because of the flood! Oh, that's awesome! He rushed it and it can't even get there in time. We opted for the militia. That makes sense. That militia will allow us to kill this spear if we want to. Wow. Alright, so the flood can last up to 3 years. We're on year number 1. So it could end next turn. Cool. Really, really cool. I always love it, especially at these times, because it's such a great omen of doom from the gods. You know, showing their favor to one of these nations. I always love crafting a narrative around the calamities when they show up. Yeah, we can take out a slinger, which is probably worth it. Take out a slinger, and then maybe we can position this militia up where the slinger is. And we might need a force. Oh, yeah, we don't have enough orders. That's unfortunate. I don't know. Still, not having this. It's a simple thing, but not having this extra commander spear in the fight is also pretty good news for Babylon. So go either way. It would have been nice if maybe a couple more units got trapped out here, but still nifty. And of course, as always, as the gods giveth and the gods taketh away, we did get that free militia. I might have opted for the repair, especially since I'm one turn away. We're doing repair now, and I'm one turn away from the slinger. We could have taken the repair from that event and just bought ourselves the time to actually hard produce that slinger, which effectively would have meant rather than getting a free militia now, we would have gotten the slinger next turn. So I was actually surprised to see that we didn't go for the repair there, since we are literally only one turn away from another sentinel slinger, by the way. So I think that's a bit of a misplay on navigating that 2 arms event. The flood, yes, the flood does in fact block the camel enforcement. Give the turn to put a general on it, though. What do we have? What do we have? Ah! What do we have? Steadfast, drunk. Yeah, nothing significant. He's pleased with us, though, so that's nice. Oh, yeah, and so here's an example, right? Look at all... here it is. This is a camel archer damage to a spear. 6 on scrub. 6 on scrub, not inside our borders, by the way. 8. But yeah, this spear was right here, and we were doing 10 damage. So camel archers are no joke. It's very easy to think, oh, we're going to kill it with spears, which, of course, you can. But, I mean, a couple of camel archers can murder you first. Two turns to axes, and yes, we would need a state religion for the zealot to rush. So, we don't have that opportunity because Zoroastrianism is not in any of our cities. Flood lasting 2 years. Whoa, no! Yep, it's not disappearing this round. Oh, man, stunning on the archer as well. That camel really would come in handy. Oh. Honestly, I wouldn't even repair this turn. With how low we are, I think we need that damage. I think we need this slinger. Very rarely do you find yourself in a situation where you might as well just not keep repairing, but I actually genuinely think we could use the damage from another sentinel slinger in this situation. This city's going to fall pretty much either way anyway, right? So, put a worker in the city to make it harder to capture. Oh, like when I rushed camels on Season last night. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun match. I kind of threw away my unique unit, though, but yeah, it was a fun match. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was Babylon versus Rome. I was Babylon. Yeah, that was a good match. All right, I'm going to leave the camera here. I'll be right back 1 second. Sorry. Alrighty. 30 seconds left for Lich's turn. And the army, there's 4 units. I mean, oh, sorry. No, wait. There's 5 units in Babylon. One's stunned, so yeah, there's 4 units in Babylon. One's blocked by a river. So effectively, there's 3 units in this region that can defend. Back to Babylon now. Yeah, I mean, look at this damage. I really think we would have been wise to just take that slinger. Well, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed the match, and I'm glad you remember it. I mean, that's why we do this. Like, we want everybody watching the games and having a good time. Of course, it's pretty much impossible to watch all of the games. Although some of us certainly try. But, even now, especially, there's just so much content. I think I did actually manage to watch every single match. Maybe not all of them, but a good portion of all the matches the last tournament. But I am already quite behind on the content in this tournament. But that's part of the goal, flood the internet with content, so when people come Googling or looking for content on the game, they will see a vibrant and active multiplayer scene, giving them all the assurance that this amazing game still has plenty of life left in it. Because I certainly don't intend to stop playing it anytime soon. I am just getting started, as it were. Alright, we've killed a spear. We have a tactician, so we can get another stun off, but this unit will very likely die if we do that. Which is unfortunate, but might be worth it. Always tricky to come to that decision when you have your tactician with low health, whether you should take the kill or not. Probably would have been smart to not put the militia in the city, and actually put the tactician in the city and stun from the city. Now that I think of it. Yeah, putting the militia inside the city was a mistake. Alas, here we are. Alright. I think we're going to go for this stun. And a way to protect this northern tactician here. Stun this guy. It'll take quite a bit to kill him. I think they do have the damage to kill this guy. But you could always upgrade this guy to a militia up north, so that would make it hard for the northern people to come do more damage. Alright, we did go for the stun there. I still think, yeah, we have enough to kill this guy. So our ruler will be dying. Well, the unit will be dying shortly. Don't know about our actual ruler. Steal in one turn. Building 2 warriors. Let's check back on Axum. We're building a festival. We're building an acolyte. A couple more workers coming out. Another acolyte. Another acolyte. Yeah, so still just developing. No real units being built. We have building a worker on the champ side of things. Another worker. Yeah, so this is what's fascinating. It's like Lich is saying, I'm going to try and harass and beat this guy up. But I also feel like he's content with the idea that if he does actually lose this battle and gets pushed out of Babylon, he's just doing so much to secure himself a long-term advantage that it won't even matter, man. Because Babylon will not be in a position to counterattack after this. Even, I think, if Axum ended up being like much weaker, because if we hop on to Axum and we look at their civic output, 85 per turn, they could rush some units if they had to. And even if they lost these two cities by some chance where, you know, the Axumite army gets obliterated and Babylon retakes the center, well, then you still have all of this core that's been developing seamlessly this entire time while Babylon has kind of been limping along in the match. All right, so now we're headed back to the Axumite's turn. 6 turns away from scholarship, by the way. That would be a turn 58 scholarship. Not too bad. Not too bad. Scholarship really shines once you hit legendary culture, so we're not quite there yet. But still, a couple of libraries and academies in your strong cities is not too bad for science output. A rare thing these days in this dual meta to see a scholarship beeline. Very classic strategy, but risk can be risky. The flood has dropped for the Axumites first, yes, indeed. All right. Killed the archer. The archer is down. The tactician ruler is exposed. Oh, we can one-shot this guy with the commander. The flood drops. The commander can finally cross the river. And boom, down he goes. Good lord. All right. We should be able to... Actually, doesn't look like we can get another kill here. Can we take the city? Possibly. Probably not. Still, 2 kills this round. Pretty good. I feel like this, this spear is gonna die. Oh, maybe not now that it's in the woods. Never mind. And of course, the Gauls are still being jerks. And also attacking Shurupak up north. It's like, oh, you're gonna settle on top of my tribal site? Well, here you go. I'm going to beat the crap out of you for the rest of time. How dare you? 14 orders left in Axum. All of the military units for Axum are on the front lines, except for this militia. So, I mean, that's it. 9 units. 9 units at the front with a tactician ruler on the throne, still leading. This actually... Honestly, if this results in a surrender shortly, this will be one of those games. I don't know how many games we have in the tournament so far, but this will be a victory given to the starting ruler of a nation. Pretty wild when some of the guys live to be this old. 69 years old. Crazy. Also, I like that we're seeing this. very often that the fire shrine is used for the lumber mill adjacencies, but I do think it's often forgot that you can use it to increase your metal output too, if you are stuck without a lot of hills in the nation, or if you're really itching for extra metal econ. So that's pretty neat. This also applies to both gems and salt mines. So if you pop one of these shrines next to it, I find it very often that you can get like 2 salts adjacent to each other. So that can be a nice way to kind of give yourself an extra 20% culture bump. It's not too bad. All right, here we go. It's camel time. What can we do? 11 damage to this guy, 10 damage to this guy. And all these guys are scrubs. But even, look at this. This is 9 damage to that guy. We're not even in our borders, so that would get high. That would go even higher. So this is what I was talking about. Again, I've said repeatedly, one camel isn't going to come into the situation and save the day. But to the question of why camels when your opponent has spears, I mean, look, this is still 9 damage. That's a lot of damage. 4 damage on forest, 5 damage on scrub. And then, yeah. And actually, this is, oh yeah, that is correct terrain. Okay. And then when we were over here, we were able to do 10 damage to a spear. 13 damage to the slinger. So yeah, a couple of camels can go around and start two-shotting stuff. You get the militia in the way. That's one thing that's really valuable about taking high value, high damage units, and then also having garbage alongside them, because it's still going to take about 2 spears to kill a militia. So if you take 2 camels, come up and start deleting slingers, and then fill the tiles with militia, well then your opponent's spears are left, they're trapped by the militia, and they're spending their kills and their damage trying to kill militia, and the camels are able to pepper them from a distance. So it certainly is sound, but yes, it does admittedly require a little bit more tactical planning to make sure that you just don't accidentally slam your camels into a bunch of spears and get them all killed. Alright, so we opted to attack the slinger. Not sure how I feel about that. Well, we're inside the city. What we need is another camel launcher. Okay, cool, yeah. We have one more coming along the way. I think, and that's the thing about these situations, it's like you need that momentum, right? It's like one of anything isn't really going to come in and save the day, unless maybe it's like a super early Colosseum swordsman, I guess, is one of the examples, or like the free ballista. The free ballista can pull so much weight on a defensive position. If we ended up with a ballista in Nippur right now, I don't think that the Babylonians, I'm sorry, the Axumites would be able to take the city with a ballista in the city. So yeah, there are the occasional units that can kind of swoop in and save the day, but for the most part, you need to get like a critical mass, right? You know, one onager is scary or hard to deal with. 5 onagers is like impossible. It's like so hard to handle unless you have a really solid setup on your side. It just requires so much more. So it's the same thing in this situation with all these spears and, you know, being under siege. 1 camel is not going to save the day, but once we get a 2nd camel or even a 3rd camel, well, actually 3 camels are probably the critical mass situation, because if we can get these spears away from scrub and forest, right? Look at the damage we're doing. We're doing 8 damage. So 3 camels will be able to instantly delete a spear. And that's good news, because you can do something like put the 3 camels, you know, in this general vicinity, take out a spear, and then same thing. Move up with a militia there, move up with like a slinger there, and now the remaining spears can't even get to the camel archers without killing the garbage first. And maybe they do, and even if they kill 1 camel, you still have other stuff left alive to do a double hit and kill secure on another spear. So it can get tricky real quick. It can be infuriating to feel like you have an advantage with something like spears only for camels, or I guess horse archers. But camels can kind of end up being stronger than horse archers with the right terrain. But to have them kind of beat you back and surprise you. Yeah, you basically, Alcaraz has it. You basically just play keep away with the spears. Um, and that's one of the reasons why I like the Tamil unique unit. They're really good at that. They are ranged. So even though they're, you have to get into melee range for the Tamil unique unit to do the damage to the spear, they still do full damage to spears, but then they panic the spear. So then you can take a piece of garbage like a militia, a slinger, or if you have axes, that's always great. An axe can then take the place where the spear was, and you just play keep away. And the spear, basically, that's the thing. The spears can't do anything if they can't hit you, and so that's what it becomes about. That's what the tactics come about when you have these ranged mounted units like the Tamil unit, the camel, or the horse archer. You just need to do the damage on the spears and not let the spears reach your ranged. These guys are coming in heavy now, though. One militia down. And we should see this other militia go down. Yep, with the slinger. Nice to see that. That should allow us to get some really solid damage. And actually probably a kill here off of this other slinger. Yeah, looks like we can get a kill here. Oh, whoa! I forgot about that change. Oh my god, I hate that change. That's so dumb. I forgot that you can stun a unit inside of a city. Okay, and that's it. Good game. Nippur falls. PS concedes. That is a victory for the Axumites over the Babylonian Empire. And well played to Lich. Cool game. Cool game. Glad to catch the end of it. Yep, there's the surrender. Nice to see a victory for the Axumites. Not sure how often they've been picked. Let's take a quick peek before I hop into the Hanging Gardens channel for their recap. Axum has been picked 3 times. This would be the 4th time. And so this would bring them up to a 50% win rate. 4 games, including this one, with 2 wins, again, including this one. So cool. Cool. Let me get my software up so I can listen to these guys and have a little bit of a post-game chat. Do-do-do. Okay. Oh, it's occurring to me now that Babylon will not be able to join the Discord conversation because PS is not able to access Discord from where they are at the moment.
Hello.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Lich. Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's just going to be you in the post game because PS can't access Discord from where he is at the moment. So, yeah, just take a moment, if you will, and let us know, how the first part of the game went. Like, basically, I have a question here, a couple questions here from Alcaraz, and I'll just rapid fire them all to you, and then you can, give us your thoughts. What led to your decision to contest Kisara in the center, and why Axum was the other 2 choices? Was the other question primarily from Alcaraz? Did you have a specific plan in mind? What was your thinking for Axum here?
Yeah, I'll start with the Axum. So, I guess when I was looking at the kind of maps that this map script generates, it
Hmm.
seemed like there were a lot of maps where there's a big space in the middle, so there wouldn't be early fighting early on. Um, and also that it's usually like a trader's start map. So
Yeah.
I was thinking take Axum in case there is fighting. I have champions, so if he takes Carthage, I have like a counter to that. But if the game does go long, I like the combination of patrons plus traders that Axum has to get the Colosseum, which is on this map. So my plan was if there wasn't fighting in the middle, like this map wound up being, then I would race for the Colosseum and try to win that way.
Oh, cool, cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I really like the luxury combo that by bringing in patrons off of a trader's seat, where you can just kind of ship the literature to the capital and just kind of spike that culture pretty easily.
Yeah, and Axum gets that elephant. If there's an elephant, they get a bonus one too, which it turns out there wasn't.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a good point. And now, what's cool is that was recently updated where the elephant resource itself counts as precious for the patrons bonus as well.
oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they just that literally just came out in like the most recent patch. They or maybe the patch before this one in the last main update or two. Now carved now for Axum specifically, not any other patron nation. The carved ivory, the elephants are count as a precious resource for Axum, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. And then I guess for the other question, why I decided to contest the middle, I mean, I would really rather not be in a situation where my opponent has basically two extra cities over me.
Hmm.
And since I've got the champions, I have decent production. And then especially what convinced me was he left this warrior in the trees that I could reach. And so my first strike, I knew I was already killing one of his warriors, and I
Yeah.
was hoping that that might give me one more troop over him that I could hopefully continue to push.
So actually,
Uh,
a question I have as I look at this, the stats in the game. Let me wait. What am I looking for? Oh, hold on. Sorry, bear with me. Um, you built a lot of spearmen. So, what made you decide to pivot into? Because these are all spearmen. You didn't build warriors and then upgrade into spearmen. You built 8 spearmen. So, how like is that something that you do often, where you lean heavily into spearmen? We have phalanx on turn 24, which is pretty decently quick, and then 8 spearmen produced. I'm assuming mostly from the champion seat. Um, And yeah, talk about that. Is that something that you rely on often for these early game skirmishes?
yeah, so I think it wasn't something I'd necessarily planned. It was just the tech hand that I drew. It was either spearman or navigation really were kind of my two main options.
Hmm.
And I decided I might as well get the spears and just really hope he doesn't get axeman.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, he Babylon, I'm pretty sure literally just got Axemen. Yeah, turn 52, so just last turn. So they were late to the party on Steelfront. They went up to land consolidation. The camels actually might have if he had a handful of camels by the time you made it to the point of pressuring Nippur, even against the spears, that might have been tricky to deal with because I was running around doing the math, and depending on the on the right tile and in their borders, and if you weren't standing in scrub or forest, a camel could still do 10 damage to a spear. So they can be surprisingly heavy hitters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if he had a really large army, I would probably wait before pressuring the per. Probably try and get some briremes and
Yeah, I think it
like
was
military production
very
first.
well played on your part. Oh, if you watch the cast, I kind of like raged slightly when you chose to clear the Gaul camp, but again, slow and steady wins the race, so there's nothing wrong with that. But Yeah, no, you definitely had the dominance and the ability to just creep in and start pressuring. And I think the way you did that, one thing I think that I'm bad at is because I noticed the more experienced players, you know, you have a lot of hours in this game, and you're pretty good at it as well. You guys are so good at like kind of just casually creeping across the map where it's like you only use like 1 or 2 fatigue points on a unit, and move all of the units in block. And I'm still kind of getting used to that. And so it's really cool to watch that happen because my gut instinct is like, oh, I'm just going to take my ruler, charge up front, and, you know, stun this thing. And that, more often than not, that's how you just get your ruler killed. So even if you were in a dominant position to be able to do that, it was kind of interesting to watch you still kind of just creep across the map, even though I think you had enough information to kind of intuit that your opponent only had about 3 or 4 units left, and yet you still took your time, which is, you know, I mean, more power to you. No, don't make risky plays if you don't have to. But yeah, no, it was just so in contrast to my instinct to just, you know, charge right in and try to press the advantage, and it was cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that I should have gone straight for Nippur. I honestly just wasn't quite sure how many troops he had, and I didn't really want to be recruiting a lot more troops.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Well, hey, congratulations. Thanks for letting us stream and catch the game. Also, huge thanks for jumping in on the tournament. I think this is your first game as a substitute, so glad to have you here in on the action now. And yeah, you're going to move to round 3 with a win on your belt, and I think you just need to win 2 more games, and then you qualify for the championship.
mhm.
All right. I'm going to close out the stream, so you take care.
All right.
All right, everybody. That is PS versus Lich. Good game from both players. Bold moves, I think, from PS, but ultimately did not pay off. And really steady gameplay from Lich. And nice to see a win for the Axamites. I don't think the Axamites are necessarily rated that high in the current meta among the fan base, the Discord players. But always nice to see what a pro can do behind the wheel of what I think is a pretty cool nation. And we did not get any opportunity to see the Stells in action because the Axamites won with their starting ruler, a King Adaraz the Noble, a magnificent 70 years old tactician, Highlander loyal, apparently timid, but I don't know, you'd never guess. All right, I'm going to close out the game, and thanks again for watching. And yeah, hop on Discord if you're not already. 20 of you in the chat. Thanks for being here. And if you're watching after the fact live on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe. Also leave comments. I love finding comments on these videos. So if you're listening to this video, you've made it all the way to the end. Yeah, feel free to tell us what your favorite part of the cast was, or the game, or give me feedback or criticisms on the way I've been casting and all this different stuff. So love to hear from you guys. All right, take care.